Every morning, I put on two masks. The first is at home, when I look in the mirror and see who my family thinks I am. An old woman, Rowena 68 years old, a useless addition to a house in a quiet Glendale neighborhood. The other is in the car, morphing into Rowena Trellis, CEO of Trellis Construction, one of the city's most successful construction companies. It's a normal Tuesday. I get up at 6 in the morning, brew myself coffee, and make avocado toast. My breakfast is lonely and quiet. The house is spacious, 3 stories high, with a garden I once planted with my own hands. It is now maintained by a gardener, another detail my daughter Abigail doesn't know. She thinks I dig it myself because I have nothing to do in retirement. At 7:30, I leave the house, get in my old Ford, and drive to a garage 2 blocks away. There's a real car waiting for me there, a black Lexus with tinted windows. This little ritual of changing cars is something I've been doing for 15 years. Abigail has never noticed. Trellis Construction's office is located in downtown Glendale, a glass tower of 26 stories. My company occupies the top 3 floors. As I enter through the main entrance, the security guard nods respectfully. "Good morning, Ms. Trellis." "Morning, Perry. How's the family?" "Junior's in college, ma'am. Thanks to your scholarship program." I'm smiling. Perry is one of hundreds of employees whose children we support. Waiting for me in my office is Chloe Whitley, my assistant for 8 years. She's younger than my daughter, but she respects me in a way Abigail never did. "The morning reports are ready," she says, handing me a folder. "You have a meeting with Pacific Development at 9, then lunch with the mayor at 12, and the board of directors at 3. Thank you, Chloe. Coffee, already ordered, almond milk latte." My office is a large room with panoramic windows that look out over Glendale. I grew up in this town, in a small house on the outskirts. My father worked in a factory. My mother was a housewife. No one expected me to build an empire. I sit down at the dark oak desk and open the folder. Figures, graphs, plans. This is my real life. Here I am respected. Here my word is law. Nearly 200 people work under me, and thousands more at our construction sites across the state. Chloe brings coffee and reminds me, "Don't forget that Abigail called 3 times today. Something about dinner on Thursday." I sigh. Thursday is the weekly family dinner. Abigail insists on it, even though it's torture every time. For both of us, I think. Call her and tell her I'll be there. "When are you finally gonna tell her?" "Chloe's the only one who knows about my double life." "I don't know, Chloe. Maybe never." I look at the picture on the table, Abigail, in her college graduation gown. Back then, 15 years ago, I was already the secret owner of Trellis Construction. Started as a small construction firm that my husband Henry left behind when he died. He died of cancer when Abigail was 16. Our daughter blamed me for not keeping her father safe, for not being as beautiful and confident as the other mothers at her school, for being too simple, too ordinary. The first years after Henry's death were hard. Money was barely enough. I worked days and nights to keep the small 5-person firm he'd started afloat. Abigail was a difficult teenager then, withdrawn and aggressive. She was ashamed of our situation, of our home, of me. One day I heard her tell a friend on the phone, "My mother is a nobody, just a dull gray mouse." That day, something in me broke and rebonded at the same time. I vowed to prove that I wasn't a nobody, not to her, to myself. I started working even harder. I found new clients, expanded the business, hired talented engineers. In 3 years, we grew tenfold. In 5 years, I bought my first competitor. In 10, I became one of Glendale's largest construction companies, but I never told Abigail about it. At first, it was just a reluctance to upset her. She was in college, building her life. Then I noticed how she reacted to successful women with envy and resentment. She chose to play the role of a victim of circumstances, a poor girl who lost her father with a loser mother. That role became part of her identity. And then she met Noah Aldridge. Noah is the epitome of everything I despise in men: self-righteous, pompous, megalomaniacal, with no real accomplishments. He works for an insurance company as a middleman, but he acts like he runs the world's finances. When Abigail brought him into the house 3 years ago, I immediately sensed something wrong. But my daughter looked at him with loving eyes, and he patted her on the shoulder condescendingly, like a master patting an obedient dog. Their wedding was 2 years ago. I paid for everything, secretly, through a series of bills, so my daughter would think the money was from her rich friends. Abigail was happy, and I hoped Noah would turn out to be better than I thought he was. He turned out to be worse. From the first day after the wedding, he started treating me like a burden. "Your mother called again." He wrinkled his nose. "Maybe she should find some hobby instead of pestering us." Abigail always weakly defended me, but then agreed with him. "Mom's just lonely, Noah, you know that." Lonely. Me, running a company with hundreds of millions of dollars in annual sales, with hundreds of employees and dozens of projects. Me, whose name is known by every real estate developer within a 100-mile radius. I, whose signature on a contract can change the fate of an entire neighborhood. I look at my watch. It's almost 9, time for the meeting. I put on my jacket, fix my hair. In the mirror, an elegant woman with a straight back and a sharp gaze stares back at me. Here, in the office, I am real. Here, I am me. In the evening, after work, I do my ritual in reverse order. I change in my car, swap the Lexus for an old Ford, remove my makeup. At home, I go back to being old Rowena, as Noah once called me, thinking I couldn't hear. Abigail calls me just as I'm about to cross the threshold of the house. "Mom, where have you been all day?" I called 3 times. I was in the garden, then I went grocery shopping. I lie habitually. "You didn't forget Thursday?" "Of course not. I'll be there. Just please wear something decent." Noah invited his boss and his wife. I bite my tongue to keep from saying my closet is worth more than their house. "Okay, sweetheart. And don't be late. You were 20 minutes late last time." "I'll do my best." "Oh, and, She stops talking, and I hear Noah's voice in the background. "Noah says you shouldn't tell your stories about the old days. It makes everyone tired. My stories. About how I rebuilt the business after Henry died. How I worked my ass off to pay for her college. Yeah, that must be awfully boring compared to Noah's tales of his great achievements in the insurance world." "Okay, Abigail. Anything else?" "No, just be on time." She hangs up. I sit back in my chair and look out at the darkening garden outside the window. Sometimes I wonder why I keep up this masquerade, why I don't tell them the truth, why I don't put my card on the table in front of Noah and watch his face stretch. But I know the answer, because then I'll see their true faces, because then Abigail will go from cold daughter to begrudging beggar, because then Noah will become my best friend and start asking for small loans, because I still hope that one day they will love me just for what I am. A silly, naive hope. I make myself dinner, baked fish and vegetables. I turn on the TV, but I don't listen. My thoughts return to how it all began. After Henry died, when I took over his small company, people looked at me with doubt. A woman in the construction business? A widow with no experience? The first 2 years were hell. Banks turned down loans, clients left for competitors, workers quit. But I was stubborn. Maybe too stubborn. I studied at night, read books on business, engineering, marketing. I found a mentor, an old friend, Henry, who believed in me. And little by little, things got better. We won the bid to remodel the town library, then to build a new wing of the school. I hired young, success hungry engineers, offered them a stake in the company instead of the high salaries I couldn't pay at the time. When Abigail left for college, I could finally breathe free. I didn't have to pretend to be in front of her every day. I didn't have to hide my late returns from work, my business calls at night, my weekend meetings. She rarely called. She came even less often. I sent her what she thought was Henry's insurance money and plunged into work. Work didn't disappoint, didn't judge, didn't shame me. The company was growing. We bought competitors, opened new lines of business, entered markets in neighboring cities. I met the mayor, the congressman from our district, everyone who had influence. My name appeared in business magazines, on construction and architecture websites. But Abigail knew nothing. I told her I was living on a pension and a small income from a rental apartment I didn't really own. She wasn't interested in the details. When she moved back to Glendale after college, I thought our relationship would change. But she settled across town, found a job as an accountant at a small company, and visited me once a month. Formal visits filled with awkward silences and superficial conversations. And then Noah showed up, and things got even worse. I glance at the calendar on the wall. My birthday is 2 weeks away. 69 years, almost 7 decades of life, the last 20 of which I've spent hiding half of myself from the only person I've ever been close to. Sometimes I ask myself if anyone really knows me. The whole me? The whole me? Probably not. The phone rings again. Chloe's name pops up on the screen. Ms. Trellis? Sorry to call you so late, but we have a problem with the River Valley project. The contractor says they found archaeological artifacts while digging the excavation. Again? I sigh. Third time this year. Call our lawyers and the Department of Historic Preservation and tell Morris to prepare an alternative development plan in case we have to change the location. Already done. Also, tomorrow's meeting has been moved to 10 instead of 9. Thank you, Chloe. You're a real treasure. Good night, Miss Trellis. I hang up the phone and smile. My staff, my real family, the ones who see the real me every day. Tomorrow will be a new day. I will put on my masks again, play my roles. CEO in the office, useless old lady at home. But one day this game will end. I feel the time is near. Something has to happen, something that will tear these masks off once and for all. And I'm not sure if I'm dreading it or looking forward to it. A week before my birthday, I sit at the weekly family dinner and watch Noah devour the steak I've prepared. Abigail barely touches her food. She's back on her diet. The third one this month. Mom, could you cook with less oil next time? She shoves her plate away unhappily. I've gained 2 pounds in the last month. You look beautiful, darling, I say automatically. No, I don't, Noah interjects, keeping his eyes on the steak. All those diets are useless if you keep eating those carbohydrate bombs your mother makes. I clutch my fork so hard my knuckles turn white. Just 6 hours ago, I was negotiating a $100 million contract. Now I'm sitting here listening to my son-in-law criticize my cooking. Next time, I'll cook something dietary, I promise, even though I know it's useless. No matter what I cook, Noah will find something to criticize. Speaking of next time, Abigail looks up from the phone she keeps in her lap under the table. Noah and I can't make it next Thursday. We have plans. Plans, I repeat indifferently, though something inside of me clenches. Next Thursday is my birthday. Yeah, Noah's corporate event at work. Abigail doesn't even look me in the eye. It's a very important event. His boss will be introducing him to the regional director. Noah grinned smugly. Yeah, I guess I'm finally getting noticed. Not everyone has to spend their whole life in the same place, like some people. This shot is meant for me. Noah is convinced that I spent my entire life working as a secretary in a small office before retiring. I've never corrected that misconception. Congratulations, I say. I hope everything goes well. But Abigail, I continue after a pause, Thursday is my birthday. My daughter pretends to have just remembered. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, Mom. I totally forgot. Can we celebrate on another day? How about Friday? I look at her and I see the little girl she used to be. The little girl who drew me a card for every birthday. The one who woke me up early in the morning to be the first to congratulate me. When did that change? When did I become a burden to her instead of a mother? Of course, I say quietly. Friday is even better. Great. Abigail returns to the phone. Oh, and we were thinking maybe we could go out to a restaurant. Cooking for everyone is so stressful for you. For me is an excuse. Abigail's actually ashamed of my house, thinks it's old-fashioned. She prefers restaurants where she can impress her friends. Yeah, and I know a great place. Noah pipes up. Golden Gate opened a month ago. Expensive, but I'll cover the cost. I almost choke on my wine. Golden Gate is right across the street from my company's building. I personally issued the building permit for this restaurant, and I know the owner, Vince Tucker. He even consulted with me on the interior design. Are you, uh, are you sure this is where you want to go? I ask cautiously. I've heard it's very hard to get reservations. Oh, don't worry. Noah smirks again. I have connections. One of our insurance company clients knows the manager, Noah's connections. If he knew I could call Vince directly and get the best table in the room, okay, I agree. Golden Gate sounds great. After dinner, Abigail and Noah leave in a hurry. They have movie tickets. I'm left alone with a pile of dirty dishes and heavy thoughts. Tomorrow morning, I have an important meeting with investors, a presentation of a new project that will determine the future of the company for the next 3 years. And I'm standing in the kitchen washing the plates from which the man who despises me ate. The phone rings as I finish the dishes. It's Chloe. Ms. Trellis? I finished my presentation for tomorrow's meeting. Would you like me to send you the files for you to review? Yes, please, Chloe. Oh, and, I have an unusual favor to ask of you. Go ahead. Could you make a reservation at Golden Gate for next Friday? Table for 6. Sure. In your name? I'm thinking about it. If I make a reservation under Trellis, Vince will come out to greet me personally. It's too risky. No, it's under Aldridge, Noah Aldridge. Okay. Is this, for your daughter? Yeah, we're celebrating my birthday. Chloe's quiet for a moment. Ms. Trellis, may I say something personal? Of course, Chloe. Why do you keep doing this? Why won't you tell them the truth? I sigh. It's a question I ask myself every day. I don't know, Chloe. I guess I'm afraid I'd lose them completely. With all due respect, Miss Trellis, I don't think you can lose what you don't have. Her words hit you right in the heart because they're true. I have no real relationship with my daughter. Only appearances, only form without substance. Maybe you're right, I say, but I'm not ready yet. By the way, can you order a cake? Something elegant, not too fancy. Sure, I'll make the arrangements. Thanks, Chloe. I'll see you tomorrow. I hang up the phone and go into the living room. There are pictures on the mantelpiece Abigail as a child, Henry and I on our wedding day, my parents. A life that seems so far away now. I wake up in the morning with a headache, a bad sign before an important meeting. But by the time I change cars in my secret garage and pull up to the office, the headache recedes. This is where I'm home. This is where I'm real. The meeting with the investors goes brilliantly. My project, an eco-friendly residential development with a zero-carbon footprint, is a delight. By the end of the presentation, 2 investors are ready to sign a preliminary agreement. Rowena, that's brilliant, says Malcolm Price, head of the investment fund. Once again, you are ahead of your time. Thank you, Malcolm. I smile. The future is green building. We were just the first to realize it. After the meeting, Lorraine Chen, one of the investors, approaches me. Terrific presentation, Rowena. As always. By the way, my husband and I are having a little reception next Friday. Nothing formal, just friends. Would you like to join us next Friday? Unfortunately, I already have plans. A family celebration. Oh, how nice. Lorraine smiles. Something special? A birthday? I answer. Dash dash mine, actually. Rowena, why didn't you say so? We would have rescheduled the reception. Anyway, happy birthday to you. How much? If it's no secret, of course. I'm laughing. 69. And no, it's not a secret. I'm proud of every year I've lived. Lorraine shakes her head. It's unbelievable. You look 55 at the most, and so much energy. If my mother ran a company of your size at that age, I'd be proud of her every day. I freeze for a moment. This is it. Something I've never heard Abigail say. Pride, admiration, respect. Thank you, Lorraine, I say quietly. It means a lot to me. When I get home in the evening, I'm in for a surprise. Abigail is sitting on the porch. Mom, where have you been? I've been calling you all day. I'm sorry, honey. I automatically go into useless old lady mode. I was at Dr. Patel's. Then I went to Martha's. Martha is an imaginary friend I made up for just such occasions. All day? Abigail looks at me incredulously. I've called you 5 times. I left my phone at home. I lie. I forgot to charge it. My daughter sighs in annoyance. Dash. Mom, you should always carry your phone with you. What if something happens to you? You're right, dear. I open the door. Come on in. Is it an emergency? Abigail follows me into the house. Yeah, Noah couldn't get a reservation at Golden Gate for Friday. It's booked for weeks in advance. I'm making a surprised face. Oh, that's a shame. Why don't we pick another restaurant? No, that's where Noah really wanted to go. His boss and his boss will be there. Noah says it's a great chance to make an impression. That's it. My birthday is just a convenient excuse for Noah to show off for his boss. Maybe we should call again. I suggested. Sometimes there are cancellations. Noah says he called 3 times. Nothing. Give me the number and I'll try. Abigail looks at me questioningly. Mom, if Noah couldn't make the arrangements, how did you? Just give me the number, Abigail. My voice gets harder. I'll at least give it a try. She reluctantly dictates the number. I write it down and promise to call tomorrow. Okay. Abigail stands up. I have to go. Noah's waiting for dinner. Sure, honey. Tell him I said hi. As soon as the door closes behind her, I call Chloe. Looks like we have a problem with the reservation, I say. My son-in-law called the restaurant and was told it was full. Impossible, Chloe replies. I spoke to Vince personally. He reserved the best table for you, under the name Aldridge, like you asked. Something's not right here. I'm thinking. Did you tell Vince it was for me? No, just the name for the reservation. Okay, call him again. Tell him the reservation is for Aldridge for 6 next Friday at 7 p.m. And ask him if Noah Aldridge calls to confirm the reservation, but don't mention me. You got it. Consider it done. Thank you, Chloe. You're saving my birthday. Abigail calls me this morning. Mom, this is unbelievable. Noah called Golden Gate and they said they have a reservation for him for next Friday. How did you do that? I smile. Women's secrets, dear. I just asked politely. Noah thinks it's a sign that his career is going to take off. He's already invited his boss and his wife and his department director and her husband, 6 people, me, Abigail, Noah, and 3 of his co-workers and their spouses. It's my birthday. Only Mom. Her voice is getting conspiratorial. Noah's very nervous. It's a big night for his career, so maybe you could, not talk too much? Of course, darling, I say. I'll be very discreet. Thank you, Mom. And, she lowers her voice. Noah and I are thinking of a present for you. Something special. Something in her tone makes me wary. The last special gift from Noah was a set of kitchen towels labeled World's Greatest Grandma. I'm not a grandmother. Abigail doesn't have kids. The days until Friday fly by. I dive into work, trying not to think about the evening ahead. The company has a big new project, the redevelopment of a historic neighborhood in downtown Glendale. On Thursday, the day before my birthday, Chloe and I stay at the office late into the night. Ms. Trellis, it's almost midnight, Chloe says. You need to get some rest before tomorrow. We take the elevator down to the underground parking garage. Before getting into the car, I look at the building across the street, Golden Gate. You can still say no, Chloe says quietly. Make up some excuse. And miss your own birthday? I smile sadly. No, Chloe, I'll go. But you're right about one thing. It's time to end this masquerade. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon. At home, I pull out of my closet the dress I've prepared for tomorrow night. Dark blue, elegant, understated. A dress in which I can be both Rowena the mother and Rowena the director, if need be. On the morning of my birthday, I am greeted at the office with flowers and champagne. My co-workers, my true friends. By evening, my office resembles a flower store, and not a single call from Abigail. At 5 o'clock, I start getting ready for dinner. I change in the office. Navy blue dress, pearl necklace, low-heeled shoes. You look amazing, Chloe says. You can walk to the restaurant. It's literally across the street. I don't change cars. I don't take off my makeup. I don't put on my useless old woman mask. Today I go as I am, Rowena Trellis, CEO of Trellis Construction. The maitre d' meets me at the entrance to the restaurant. I say the name Aldridge, and he escorts me to a table by the window, the best seat in the room. I sit down and wait, looking out at the office building across the street. The windows of my office are lit. Chloe is still at work. At 7:15, Abigail and Noah show up with two middle-aged couples, the bosses and their spouses. Mom, Abigail kisses me on the cheek. You're here now, and you look not bad. Not bad. The highest praise from a daughter. Thank you, darling. I smile. Decided to wear something special today. Noah introduces me to his co-workers, and I can see how nervous he is. To him, this isn't my party, it's his chance to impress. We sit down, order drinks, and I have a feeling this night is going to be special. There's something in the air, a premonition of change that can't be stopped. Dinner begins in a tense atmosphere. I sit at the head of the table, but I feel like an extra at my own birthday party. Noah is being polite to his bosses. Abigail is nodding along, and I sit with a strained smile as I listen to them talk about insurance claims and performance bonuses. Mr. Baxter, let me introduce you to my mother-in-law, Rowena. Noah points at me with his glass. She turns 69 today. George Baxter, a full man with thinning hair, nods at me with polite indifference. Congratulations. It must be nice to be retired. No worries, no responsibilities. I hold back a chuckle. If only he knew that only an hour ago I signed a contract to build a new shopping center worth $200 million. Yes, it has its advantages, I answer evasively. What did you do before you retired? Paula Baxter, George's wife, asks. Before I can answer, Noah intervenes. Oh, Rowena was a secretary at some small firm, he says with a touch of disdain. It's no big deal. I see Abigail lower her eyes in embarrassment. She's always been ashamed of my supposed humble career. Actually, I say calmly, I've worked in the construction business. Really? Paula looks interested. What kind of company? I open my mouth to answer, but Noah interrupts again. Oh, my mom was just on the phone at some tiny family contractor. Nothing of interest. George, have you heard about the new bonus system at head office? The conversation drifts away, and I can feel the irritation building up inside. All my life, I've let people, especially men, interrupt me, speak for me, belittle my accomplishments. In the office, I put a stop to that a long time ago. So why do I continue to tolerate it from my own family? The waiter brings appetizers, artichokes with truffle sauce, beef carpaccio, tuna tartare. The dishes are exquisite, but I can barely taste them. My thoughts revolve around one question. Why am I here? So, Rowena, the wife of Noah's second boss, Sandra Pierce, turns to me. How do you feel about your son-in-law's success? He's moving so quickly up the career ladder. I look at Noah's smug face. He's moving up fast? He's gotten one promotion in 3 years, from junior insurance agent to regular. At my company, that pace would be considered disastrously slow. I'm very proud of him. I lie with a smile. Noah has always been ambitious. Oh, yes, Abigail said. Noah is so driven. My mom and I admire him so much. I nod, keeping my smile, but in the back of my mind I can feel the last thread that binds me to my daughter breaking. When did she become like this? When did she become this ingratiating creature to her husband? The waiter takes the appetizer plates away and brings out the main courses. I ordered a steak, a rare moment when I can afford red meat. It's cooked perfectly, but every bite sticks in my throat. Abigail and I would like to say a few words, Noah suddenly announces, rising from his seat and raising his glass. In honor of my dear mother-in-law's birthday? I look up in surprise. Is he really going to make a toast in my honor? Maybe I've been wrong about him all this time? Rowena, he turns to me. You've been a part of our lives for many years now. You've always been present with us. And today, on your special day, Abigail and I want to give you something special. Noah nods to Abigail, and she pulls a wrapped package tied with ribbon from her bag. My heart thaws a little. Maybe I really was wrong about them. Abigail holds out the gift to me with a nervous smile. I slowly unwrap the package. Inside is a bright yellow floor cleaning rag with "For the worst cleaner ever" written in red letters. I freeze. The restaurant becomes quiet. Even the bystanders at the neighboring tables turn to look at us. Is this, a joke? I look at Noah, then at Abigail. Well, sort of. Noah smirks. We know how much you like to clean the house, though frankly, the results aren't always impressive. Don't we, dear? Abigail giggles nervously, not looking me in the eye. Noah always says that when he comes to see you, he feels like wearing booties. I feel the blood drain from my face. They're not just giving me a rag. They're publicly humiliating me in front of strangers on my birthday. I see, I say quietly, placing the rag on the table. Oh, and that's not all. Noah waves his hands theatrically. Abigail and I decided that you needed a personal au pair, so we paid for a housekeeper to come in once a week and really clean up your mess. I stare at them in mute amazement. Do they think I'm so worthless that I can't even clean my own house? Thank you, I say mechanically. Very thoughtful. You're welcome, Mommy. Noah raises his glass. To Rowena, the worst cleaning lady, but the best mother-in-law. The guests awkwardly raise their glasses. I see Paula Baxter avert her eyes in embarrassment. Even this strange woman is ashamed of what's going on. Excuse me. I rise from the table. I need to go to the ladies' room for a minute. I run across the hall, tears welling up in my eyes. Not from resentment, but from rage. How could I have let them treat me like this for so many years? How could I play the role of a humble old woman when in reality I run a multi-million-dollar business, respected in the business world, making decisions that affect the lives of thousands of people? In the restroom, I splash cold water on my face, trying not to smudge my makeup. The mirror reflects a woman with a straight back and a determined look. Not a useless old woman, but Rowena Trellis, CEO of Trellis Construction. Enough, I say to my reflection. Stop pretending. I walk back to the table with my head held high. Noah continues to tell some story, waving his arms. He doesn't interrupt at my appearance, just nods nonchalantly. Wait, and then I said to the client, Sir, even if your house was made of asbestos and was in a flood zone, I would still find a way to insure it. He laughs loudly at his own joke. I sit down and pick up the dessert menu the waiter brought in my absence. No one at the table asks if I'm okay. I don't exist to them except as an object for jokes. Are you okay, Mom? Abigail finally asks, but there's no genuine concern in her voice, only annoyance. Of course, I answer dryly. I'm just a little tired. It's normal at your age, Noah inserts with fake sympathy. Maybe we should have celebrated at an earlier hour. Say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, with an early dinner for the seniors? He laughs, and Abigail hesitantly joins him. The other guests look increasingly uncomfortable. I think we could all use a little sweetness, Paula says, clearly trying to change the subject. Rowena, what would you recommend? You've been to this restaurant before, haven't you? I don't think so, Noah snorts. Golden Gate isn't really in Rowena's price range. It's not her style, either. No early retirement discounts here. I clench my teeth, but continue to remain silent. I feel like getting up and leaving, but something is holding me back. Maybe a masochistic desire to see how low they can fall? Or the hope that Abigail will come to her senses and stand up for me. Actually, I say, finally deciding to answer Paula, I recommend the chocolate fondant. It's excellent here. Oh, you've been here before? She asks in surprise. I have, I answer briefly, without going into details. When did you go to Golden Gate? Abigail asks suspiciously. It's the most expensive restaurant in Glendale. I have my secrets, darling. I allow myself a slight smile. Noah rolls his eyes. Oh, those older people and their imaginary adventures. Next time she'll tell me she flew to the moon with Neil Armstrong. I'm ready to respond, but at that moment a waiter comes to our table with a cake. A big, elegant cake with a single candle in the middle, just like the one I asked Chloe to order. Happy birthday, Ms. Trellis, the waiter says, placing the cake in front of me. Noah and Abigail exchange surprised looks. How do you know her name? Noah asks suspiciously. I didn't specify it when I made the reservation. The waiter, a young guy of about 23, looks confused. Yeah, I thought it was standard information in the reservation system, sir. He's clearly lying and not very skillfully. Chloe must have mentioned my name when she ordered the cake after all. Anyway, thank you very much, I say to the waiter with a smile. The cake looks great. Only the best for you, Miss Trellis, he replies, and there's genuine respect in his voice. Noah squints, looking at the waiter. What do you mean, only the best? Have you met my mother-in-law? The waiter pales. No, sir, just an expression of courtesy. I apologize if I gave the wrong impression. He hurriedly steps away, and I mentally sigh in relief. A little more, and my cover might have been blown. But honestly, at this point, I'm almost hoping for it. A young waiter approaches our table carrying water. Wait, he exclaims, looking at me. I know you. You're the CEO of the company across the street from our restaurant, Trellis Construction. There is absolute silence. Noah freezes with his fork halfway to his mouth. Abigail goes pale. The guests look at me in bewilderment. Of course, the waiter continues enthusiastically. I saw you when I interviewed for your office last spring. You personally conducted the final round. I didn't pass, but it was such an experience. You are an amazing woman, Miss Trellis. I sigh. It's done. Thank you, I say quietly. Yes, I remember that interview. You did well. We just had too many applicants. Is that, uh, is that true? Abigail looks at me like she's seeing a ghost. Your, company director? Noah lets out a nervous chuckle. This is some kind of ridiculous mistake. My mother-in-law was a secretary, not a director. Young man, you're confusing her with someone else. No, sir. The waiter shakes his head. I'll never forget Ms. Trellis. She's a legend in the Glendale construction business. A tall, gray-haired man in a chef's suit approaches the table. Vince Tucker himself. Good evening, he says. I hope you're enjoying your dinner. It's delicious, Paula replies. Especially the cake. I'm glad you like it. Vince smiles. I personally supervised its preparation. Only the best for special guests. Thank you, Noah says importantly. We really appreciate this kind of attention. I'm Noah Aldridge, an insurance agent with Global Insurance. It's a pleasure to meet you, Vince replies politely. But I take it, he continues, looking at me, that we have a real Glendale star at the table tonight? He smiles at me respectfully. Is it true you're the CEO of Trellis Construction, Ms. Trellis? George Baxter asks, looking at me with renewed interest. I look at Noah and Abigail's shocked faces. 20 years of lies are coming to an end. Yes, I say simply. I'm the founder, CEO, and majority owner of Trellis Construction. Oh my God. Paula presses her hand to her mouth. You're, you're the Rowena Trellis. I read about you in Glendale business. Abigail looks like she's about to faint. Why didn't you ever tell us? Her voice is shaking. All these years, you let us think. Let you think I was just a simple old woman? I chuckle bitterly. And look how you've treated me. With contempt. With derision. I pick up the yellow rag Noah handed me. For the worst cleaning lady ever. That's how you saw your mother and mother-in-law. Like a maid who can't even do her job. Noah looks like he's about to throw up. He looks back at his bosses, who look at him with undisguised contempt. Yeah, I didn't know, he mumbles. It was just a joke. A very bad joke, Aldridge, George Baxter says dryly. Very disrespectful. Ms. Trellis, Vince intervenes. Let me wish you a happy birthday again. We are proud that you have chosen our restaurant to celebrate. I turn to the others present. I believe dinner is over. Thank you all for your company. I rise from the table. Noah and Abigail stare at me in a daze. Mom, Abigail jumps up. We have to talk about this. You can't just walk away. I can, I answer calmly, and I walk away. For 20 years, I've lived a double life, hiding my accomplishments, my pride, my power. For what? For people who saw me as nothing more than a useless old woman? I turn to leave, but Noah suddenly jumps up and grabs my arm. Wait, Ms. Trellis. His tone has changed completely. Now it's ingratiating and fake warm. I don't understand why you're upset. It was just an innocent joke. Of course, if I knew who you really were. Exactly. I snatch my hand away. If you knew who I really was, you'd be licking my shoes instead of giving me a floor cloth. But you know what, Noah? You didn't treat me like dirt because you thought I was poor or unsuccessful. It's because you thought I was old and therefore useless. Money isn't going to change that. I turn to Abigail. I love you, daughter. I always have. But I will no longer be the woman you both despised. With those words, I walk out of the restaurant, leaving behind a dazed crowd and a yellow rag on the table. As I pass the maitre d', I smile at him. A lovely dinner. Please send the bill to my office. Stepping outside, I take a deep breath of the evening air. Across the street, the windows of my office glow. My real world. My real life. I hear quick footsteps behind me. I turn around and it's Abigail. Mommy, please, she cries. Let's talk. I don't understand what's happening. I look at her for a long moment. I didn't understand either, Abigail. I didn't understand how my own daughter could be so cold to her mother. I see now that it wasn't about money or status. It was about respect, which you didn't have. But Mom, if I had known, if you'd known what? That I was rich, that I'm successful, and that would change the way you feel about me? I shake my head. Then this is even worse than I thought. A panting Noah comes running out of the restaurant, followed by the embarrassed Baxters and the Pierces. Dash Miss Trellis. Noah smiles obsequiously. I want to apologize profusely for the misunderstanding. Of course, if I had known of your status. That's the problem, Noah. I interrupt him. You judge people by their status. The rich deserve respect. The poor deserve contempt. Old people deserve ridicule. Young people deserve attention. That's not how real life works. I look at George Baxter. Mr. Baxter, it was a pleasure to meet you and your wife. Perhaps we'll meet again at some business event. It would be an honor, Miss Trellis, he replies seriously. And please accept my apologies for my subordinate's behavior. Mom, Abigail tries to move closer to me again. What happens now? To us? To you? I look at her, at Noah, at my company building, brightly lit in the evening gloom. I don't know, Abigail. Honestly, I don't know. But what I do know is that I will no longer live a double life. No more pretending to be less than I am. And no more will I let anyone, not even you, treat me with disrespect. I turn around and cross the street, heading towards my company building, feeling the stares of the entire company on me. A mixture of relief and bitterness overwhelms me. 20 years of pretending is over. What's going to happen next? I don't know, but for the first time in a long time, I feel truly free. I don't go home after a humiliating dinner. Instead, I go up to my office where I turn on the light and sit in my chair, looking out the window at Golden Gate. From my seat, I can see Abigail and Noah still standing in front of the restaurant, clearly confused and shocked. Finally, they get in their car and drive away. I dial Chloe's number. Ms. Trellis? I hear surprise in her voice. Are you in the office? How was dinner? It's over, Chloe, I answer, feeling a strange emptiness inside. They know. Oh, Chloe is silent for a moment. Should I come over? You don't have to. I just wanted to give you a heads up. My daughter or son-in-law may probably show up at the office door soon. Don't let them in my office unannounced. Sure. You want me to keep them out altogether? I'm thinking about it. No, I think this conversation is inevitable, but I want to be prepared for it. After talking to Chloe, I open my desk drawer and pull out the bottle of good whiskey I keep for special occasions. I pour myself a small portion and sip it slowly, analyzing the events of the evening. I feel a strange mix of emotions relief that I don't have to pretend anymore. Bitterness at Abigail's reaction, anger at Noah, and, most surprisingly, some childish resentment toward the world. Why did I have to hide my success? Why did I have to diminish myself to make others more comfortable? Why couldn't my own daughter just be proud of me? The ringing of the phone interrupts my musings. Abigail. I hesitate, then answer it. Dash, dash. Yes, Mom, where are you? Her voice sounded unfamiliar, scared and unsure. We came to your house, but you're not here. I'm at the office, I answer briefly. In the office, she repeats, as if tasting the word. Your office. The CEO's. Exactly. Mom, we need to talk. I agree. But not today. I'm tired. But, she's stammering. But we can't just leave it at that. You kept this from us. You've been lying to us for years. I clutch the phone tighter. This is it. This is exactly the reaction I was expecting. Not, Mom, we treated you so badly. But you lied to us. Interesting interpretation, Abigail. My voice grows colder. I didn't lie. I just didn't disclose information to people who, as it turns out, quite rightly didn't deserve it. What do you mean they didn't deserve it? Now there's indignation in her voice. I'm your daughter. Noah is your son-in-law. We're family. A family shouldn't keep secrets like that. A family also shouldn't give their mother a floor cloth for her birthday and publicly humiliate her. I parry. But that didn't stop you, did it? There's silence on the other end of the line. It, it was just a joke, Abigail finally says uncertainly. Noah was just kidding. A joke? I laugh unhappily. You know, Abigail, jokes are usually funny. They make you laugh, not feel humiliated. And if you thought a rag that said, "For the worst cleaning lady," was a fitting gift for your mother on her 69th birthday, I've got news for you. You have a terrible sense of humor. You exaggerate everything, Abigail raises her voice. You've always been overly sensitive. Yeah, Noah and I shouldn't have celebrated your birthday at all. We could have just sent a card. But we spent money on a restaurant, on a gift, a present. I can't believe what I'm hearing. You call a rag a gift? A rag that cost $5? Do you know how much that restaurant you so generously agreed to go to cost? $800 for dinner. And you didn't pay a dime, Abigail. I made the reservations. I ordered the cake. I paid the bill. Abigail sobs. You're unfair. We didn't know that I'm a successful businesswoman and not a useless old woman. Is that an excuse? If you knew I was rich, would you treat me with respect? It's worse than that, Abigail. It means you only respect status and money, not the person. You've got it all wrong, Abigail shouts. You're distorting everything. You've been hiding the truth from us for years, and now you're angry that we're shocked? That we're confused? How could you, Mom? How could you keep us in the dark? I take a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. Tomorrow, Abigail. Come with Noah to my office tomorrow morning at 10. We'll talk then. Right now, I'm too tired and upset. But see you tomorrow. I end the call and turn off the phone. I'm not going home tonight. I don't want to risk running into Abigail and Noah if they decide to wait for me there. There's a couch in the office that I sometimes lounge on during busy projects. It's fine for one night. In the morning, I'm awakened by an internal phone ringing. Chloe, Ms. Trellis, did you spend the night here? Yes, Chloe. I stretch, feeling my back stiffen. 69 isn't the best age to sleep on the couch. Any news? Your daughter has called 3 times since 8 this morning. I said you'd be available at 10 as you requested. Thank you. I get up and walk to the small bathroom adjacent to my office. Do I have a spare set of clothes here? Yes, in the closet. I'll make some coffee and get some croissants from the cafe across the hall. You're a real treasure, Chloe. At exactly 9:45, Chloe calls again. Ms. Trellis, your daughter and son-in-law are here. Would you show them out, please? I sit at my desk, straight, collected, in a strict dark gray suit, with light makeup and neat hair. CEO Rowena Trellis, not a mammy with a floor cloth. The door opens and Abigail and Noah walk in. My daughter looks like she hasn't slept well. Eyes red, hair hastily styled. Noah, on the other hand, seems unusually neat, even dorky in his best suit. He has clearly been preparing for this meeting. Good morning, I say in a steady voice. Have a seat. They sit down in the chairs across from my desk. Abigail glances around nervously, looking at my office, which is spacious, with expensive furniture, paintings on the walls, and an impressive view out the window. Noah tries to keep his face casual, but I can see him sweating. Mom, Abigail begins uncertainly. We, we're here to talk. I'm listening to you, I reply neutrally. Abigail casts a helpless glance at Noah, who clears his throat and assumes a business-like demeanor. Dash Ms. Trellis, he said in a formal tone, completely different from the way he usually addressed me. First of all, let me offer our deepest apologies for yesterday's incident. It was a terrible misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? I raise an eyebrow. Yes, Noah nods with a serious look. You see, if we had known about your status, we would never have allowed ourselves such familiarity. That rag joke was stupid and inappropriate. Abigail and I have spent the entire night discussing the situation, and we want to assure you that from now on, we will treat you with the respect you undoubtedly deserve as a successful businesswoman and a powerful figure in the community. I stare at him for a long moment, then turn my eyes to Abigail, who nods nervously, supporting her husband. I understand, I say slowly. So, if I were really just a retired former secretary, a floorcloth and public humiliation would be in order? Noah is momentarily lost. Such a turn of conversation was clearly not in his plans. No, 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 no. I didn't mean. What did you mean, Noah? I'm leaning forward. Explain it to me, please. Because from the outside, it seems like you're just changing your attitude towards me now that you know I'm rich and powerful. And that, is not a very flattering characterization of you as a person. Noah blushes and pales at the same time. Abigail intervenes, trying to save the day. Mom, you've got it all wrong. Noah and I are just shocked. You kept such an important part of your life from us. All these years you've been pretending to be someone else. How do you think it makes me feel to know that my mother is a successful CEO and not the woman I've known all my life? And what woman have you known all your life, Abigail? I ask quietly. Describe her. Abigail hesitates. Well, quiet, modest, homely, a woman who lived a simple life, a home, a garden. And this was a woman you respected, appreciated, proud of her. Abigail glances again at Noah, who is diligently studying his shoes. Yeah, loved you, Mom. Of course you did. Loved you, I say again. But I didn't respect you. I didn't appreciate you. I didn't consider you an equal. Because a quiet, humble, homely woman doesn't deserve the same respect as a successful CEO. Doesn't she? You're being unfair. Abigail raises her voice. You're turning everything around. You've been lying to us for years, and now you're accusing us of reacting the wrong way? I didn't lie, I answer calmly. I just didn't tell you everything. And I'm not blaming you for today's reaction. I'm blaming you for years of attitude, that you thought it was acceptable to humiliate me publicly, that you couldn't spend one evening a month with me without constantly reprimanding me, criticizing me, condescending me. The fact that my own son-in-law thought it was okay to give me a floor cloth for my birthday, and my daughter saw nothing wrong with it. Abigail starts to cry. Noah finally looks up and tries to speak in a business-like tone again. Ms. Trellis, let's start over. Abigail and I admit that we made a mistake. We were, insensitive to your feelings. But on the other hand, you withheld such significant information from us. It undermines the foundation of family trust. Trust in the family, I chuckle. That's an interesting concept, Noah. What about respect in the family? Dignity? Basic courtesy? Or do these concepts only apply to family members of high social status? Noah is lost again. Abigail continues to cry, but through her tears I see not remorse, But resentment, she resents me for cheating on her, for ruining their relationship with Noah's bosses, for shattering her comfortable illusion of me as a good daughter taking care of poor old mommy. "What do you want us to do, Mom?" she finally asks. "What are you trying to accomplish with this conversation?" I look at both of them and suddenly realize that they won't change. Abigail won't realize how cruelly they've treated me all these years. Noah won't see anything wrong with his behavior other than the fact that he chose the wrong object to ridicule. They will apologize not for being cruel, but for being cruel to a man with money and power. "I want you to realize," I say quietly, "that status, money, position, none of these things determine a person's worth. That an elderly woman living a modest life deserves the same respect as the CEO of a large company. That your mother and mother-in-law, regardless of her profession or bank account, deserves better treatment than the one you showed me." "But we understand that, Mom," Abigail exclaims. "Of course we understand that." "No," I shake my head. "You don't. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here apologizing just because you found out about my money. You would have apologized yesterday, in the restaurant, when you saw my reaction to your gift, even before you knew who I really was." Noah finally loses his business-like tone. "What the hell do you want from us? We came to apologize. We admit we did wrong. What more do you expect?" "Understanding," I reply simply. "I want you to understand exactly what you did wrong. You don't understand." There's silence. I look out the window at the city that has grown in part because of my company. Then I shift my gaze to the picture on the table. Little Abigail in her school uniform smiling at me. When did everything change? When did my loving daughter turn into this cold, calculating woman? "I suggest we all take a break," I say finally. "You need time to process the situation. I need time to decide how to move forward." Noah immediately tenses up. "What do you mean, how to move on?" "I mean my life, Noah," I answer calmly. "For 20 years, I've lived a double life. Now it's over, and I have to decide what that means for my future." "But nothing must change," Abigail exclaims. "We'll just know what you really do. Everything else can stay the same." "The same?" I raise an eyebrow. "Do you really think that after last night I'm going to want things to stay the same? For you and Noah to keep coming over to my house once a week, criticizing my life, making jokes about my age, giving me floor cloths? Only now you'll do it with fake smiles because you know I'm rich?" "No," Abigail protests. "Of course not. We're going to change. We'll treat you better." "Because I'm rich," I finish for her. "Not because I'm your mother. Not because I deserve respect as a human being. It's because I have money and position." Abigail suddenly straightens up, wipes away her tears, and looks at me with sudden coldness. "Okay, Mom, you're right. Noah and I have been horrible to you. We're bad, ungrateful children. You've certainly been the perfect mother, except for lying to me all my life. What do you want to do now? End the relationship? Disown me?" I look at her, feeling my heart clench with pain. My daughter. My only daughter. And she sees only herself in this situation, only her hurt, only her righteousness. "No, Abigail," I say quietly. "I don't want to end the relationship. I want it to change. I want us to treat each other with respect." I stand up, signaling that this conversation is over. "One more thing," I add, looking directly at Noah. "George Baxter called me this morning." Noah instantly tenses up. "Mr. Baxter?" "Yes. He apologized for the incident yesterday, said he was ashamed to have witnessed it, and he also mentioned that your company is restructuring. Apparently, some positions will be cut." Noah's face is turning white as chalk. "Reduced?" "Yes. Mostly those he said were inconsistent with the company's corporate ethics. Interesting wording, don't you think? Noah opens his mouth but doesn't make a sound. Abigail shifts her gaze from me to her husband. What does that mean? Noah could lose his job? I shrug my shoulders. I don't know the details. I don't meddle in the affairs of insurance companies. Noah looks at me with panic in his eyes. Ms. Trellis, would you mind talk to Mr. Baxter? Put in a good word for me? I'm looking at him closely. There he is, the real Noah, a coward, willing to humiliate those he deems useful and mock those he deems helpless. Maybe, I answer evenly. But we all need time first. Time to figure out what our relationship will be like in the future. Time to decide if you deserve my support. I see Noah literally shrink back in his chair. Abigail looks at me with hatred. This is what you've always wanted, isn't it, Mom? Power over us? The ability to dictate terms? No, Abigail, I answer tiredly. All I ever wanted was for my daughter to love and respect me simply for being her mother. Not for money, not for status, not for influence, just for what I am. I step around the table and head for the door. I think that's enough for today. Chloe will see you out. Mom! Abigail's jumping up. You can't just leave. We're not done. We are, Abigail, I say without turning around. You've said your piece, and I've said mine. Now, we all need time to reassess the situation. I'll call you in a few days. I walk out of the office, leaving them with their mouths hanging open. In the waiting room, Chloe looks at me questioningly. Is everything okay? It will be fine, I answer. Show them out, please. I'm going for a walk. I need some fresh air. The sun is shining brightly outside. I walk through the business district, past buildings, many of them built by my company. People nod at me. Some say hello by name. Here in the business world, I am a respected man. My accomplishments are valued. My opinion carries weight. At home with my own daughter, I was nothing, a useless old woman who could be given a floor cloth for her birthday. Now, for the first time in 20 years, I realized that my decision to hide my success was not a defense against self-interest. It was a form of self-deception. I allowed myself to believe that my daughter loved me for nothing, without conditions. And when it became clear that she didn't, that she and Noah only saw me as an old, worthless woman, I chose to endure the humiliation rather than admit the bitter truth. But now everything's changed. The masks are off, and I see the true faces of my relatives, petty, selfish, ready to humiliate the weak and grovel before the strong. And this is perhaps the most painful discovery of my life. I stop at a store window and look at my reflection. 69 years old, straight back, clear eyes, a woman who built an empire and raised a daughter who turned out to be a stranger. Well, maybe it's not too late to change things. Maybe this is a chance to start a new chapter in my life. A chapter where I will live for myself without masks or compromise. I pull out my cell phone and call Chloe. Please put a meeting with a realtor on my schedule. I want to look at new housing options. Also, schedule a meeting with a lawyer. I need to review my will. The next 2 weeks pass in a strange daze. I am completely immersed in my work, trying not to think about what happened, but thoughts of talking to my daughter and son-in-law keep coming back, especially in the evenings when I am alone in my big empty house. I don't call Abigail, even though I promised I would. I need time to sort myself out, my feelings, what I really want. Abigail doesn't call either. Resentment or pride won't let her make the first move. Saturday morning, I wake up earlier than usual, make myself a strong cup of tea, and go out into the garden. It's mid-spring. Everything is in bloom. The air is full of fragrance and freshness. I sit on a bench under the old apple tree I planted 20 years ago when I first bought this house and try to organize my thoughts. All my life, I've sacrificed myself for others. First, for Henry, supporting him when he decided to start his own business, working with him to build a company from scratch. Then, for Abigail, after Henry died, I did everything I could to make sure she didn't feel left out, that she got the best education, the best opportunities. And finally, I had endured years of humiliation and disrespect, hiding my success, my strength, my pride, for the sake of maintaining the semblance of a family relationship. And what did I get in return? A daughter who sees in me only a worthless old woman, worthy at best of pity. A son-in-law who thinks it's okay to abuse an old woman. Lonely evenings in an empty house filled with bitterness and regret. It's time to face the obvious. I deserve better. I deserve respect, dignity, a genuine relationship. And if my own daughter isn't capable of giving me that, maybe it's time to look elsewhere for happiness. I finish my tea and go back inside. On the table is the file folder I brought from the office yesterday. A company expansion project I've been thinking about for months. Opening a branch in San Diego, entering a new market, new opportunities. I used to hesitate, not wanting to leave Glendale because of Abigail. Now those doubts seem ridiculous. My daughter is unlikely to notice my absence unless I need money or connections. All day I work on the project, sketching plans, making calculations. By evening, the decision is final. I will open a branch office in San Diego and move there myself for the first time to oversee the process. It's not an escape. It's a new challenge, a new chapter in my life. I call Chloe to share my thoughts. San Diego? I can hear the surprise in her voice. Are you sure, Ms. Trellis? Absolutely, I answer firmly. We've put this project on hold for too long. It's time to act. What about? Chloe stammered. Your family? I grinned bitterly. My family, Chloe, has made it clear to me that they don't really need me, except for my money and connections. Don't say that, she says quietly. Maybe they just need time to realize their mistakes. Maybe, I agree without much conviction. But I'm not going to wait for them to wake up anymore. I've lived long enough to know that people rarely change, especially if they don't see the need to. After talking to Chloe, I sit in my office for a long time, looking at the pictures on the walls. Here I am with a team of engineers at the opening of our first major project. Here I am shaking hands with the mayor of Glendale at the groundbreaking ceremony for a new apartment complex. Here I am receiving the Businesswoman of the Year award from the Chamber of Commerce. So many accomplishments, so much pride, and none of it I could share with my own daughter. The phone rings, interrupting my thoughts. Abigail's number pops up on the screen. I hesitate for a few seconds, then answer it. Dash, dash, yes? Mom? Her voice sounds unusually soft. How are you? I'm fine. I answer with restraint. And you? I'm fine, fine. She pauses. Mom, I've been thinking about our last conversation. Maybe we should get together. Have a calm, unemotional conversation? Something in her tone alarms me. It's too sweet, too cloying. We could meet, I agreed. When? Maybe tomorrow, she suggests hastily. Noah and I could stop by your place, or we could take you to lunch. A neutral location would be better, I say, like the Blue Ivy Cafe at 2 in the afternoon. Okay, Abigail agrees. 2 o'clock at the Blue Ivy. Noah and I will be waiting for you. See you tomorrow. I end the conversation, feeling strangely empty inside. There's no joy at the prospect of reconciliation, no anxiety at the possibility of confrontation, only fatigue and a vague suspicion. The next day, I arrive at the cafe at exactly 2 o'clock. Abigail and Noah are already waiting for me at a table in the corner. Both of them smile unnaturally when I approach. Noah even stands up and pulls back his chair for me, a gesture I've never seen from him before. Mom, it's so good of you to come. Abigail takes my hand. We've missed you so much. I look at her carefully. 2 weeks ago, she was yelling at me, accusing me of lying and manipulation. And now she's missed you? And it's good to see you, I answer neutrally. How are you two doing? Abigail and Noah exchange quick glances. Not very well, actually. Noah begins with a nervous smile. You see, Rowena, I mean, Mom, the company has indeed started restructuring, as you said, and my position is in jeopardy. That's it. I can see why they suddenly missed me. I'm sorry to hear that, I say calmly. Mom, Abigail intervenes. Noah and I have been thinking a lot about what happened, about our behavior. You were right. We were disrespectful to you. It's unforgivable. We were immature and selfish. Noah picks up on it with a look of deep remorse on his face. Especially me. That joke with the rag. It was awful. I don't know what came over me. I look at them and I can see right through it. The fake smiles, the feigned remorse, the calculating glint in their eyes. They haven't changed. They just realized I could be useful. I appreciate your apology, I say with restraint. I hope it's sincere. Of course it's sincere, Abigail exclaims. Mom, Noah, and I have really rethought our behavior. We want to make things right. A clean slate. And how do you see that happening? I ask, leaning back in my chair. Abigail glances again at Noah, who clears his throat. We thought we could spend more time together, like a real family. Maybe not just the weekly dinners, but other activities. He pauses. For example, you could introduce us to your business associates. Show us your world. That's it. Not, we want to get to know you better, Mom, but introduce us to your business partners. Not, we value you as a person, but we want access to your world. That's an interesting suggestion. I respond neutrally. What else would you like to change about our relationship? Abigail leans closer. Mom, we're so sorry we didn't know about your success sooner. We could have been closer all these years. You could have shared your projects with us, your plans. We could have, help you? Help? I raise an eyebrow. In what way? Well, I'm pretty good with finances, Noah says hastily. And Abigail. She has great taste. She could consult on interior design for your projects. I can barely contain my laughter. Noah, who couldn't advance beyond the position of insurance salesman in 3 years, considers himself a finance expert. Abigail, who never showed any interest in design, is suddenly an expert. I'll consider your offer, I say calmly. By the way, I have news too. I've decided to open a branch office in San Diego. San Diego? Abigail looks surprised. But that's so far away. 3 hours away, I shrugged. It's not that far. Besides, I'm planning on moving there for a while. Maybe even permanently. Move? Abigail looks worried now. But Mom, why? Your home is here. Your family. My family. I look her straight in the eye. Hasn't really needed me these past few years. And this new project requires my personal presence. Abigail and Noah exchange glances again. But this is so sudden, Abigail says. You've never mentioned moving before. A lot has changed in the last few weeks, I reply. I've been rethinking a lot of things. But what about us? Abigail's voice turns pitiful. We're just starting to rebuild our relationship, and you're already planning to leave? Relationships don't depend on geography, Abigail, I say calmly. If we really want to be closer, a 3-hour drive won't hurt. Of course it will, Noah interjects hastily. We'll come to you in San Diego, or you can come to us in Glendale. The important thing is that we'll be a real family again. I look at his smiling face and all I see is falseness. The same man who called me old mommy and made fun of my worthless life is now posing as a loving son-in-law. It's ironic. Speaking of family, Abigail said suddenly, we have a surprise for you, Mom. Noah and I have decided it's time to think about kids. I look up in surprise. Abigail had never talked about wanting children before. On the contrary, she'd always emphasized that her career was more important to her. It's unexpected, I say carefully. I thought you didn't want children. We've changed our minds. Abigail smiles. Can you imagine? You're going to be a grandmother. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I look at her radiant face and feel a strange emptiness. My daughter, who 2 weeks ago yelled at me, accusing me of all my sins, is now announcing plans to give me a grandchild. All this after learning about my financial situation. Coincidence? I don't think so. It's a big decision, I say neutrally. Are you sure you're ready? Absolutely. Noah takes Abigail's hand. We've already started planning. Of course, we'll have to think about a bigger house. The kids need room to grow. This is it. I can almost hear the clinking of coins in his head. A bigger house? Which of course I will have to pay for. And we also thought, Abigail continues, that you could help us with the down payment, like an investment in your grandson's future. I look at them both and feel the last of my illusions crumble. They haven't changed. They just saw me as a new source of funding for their lives. I'll think about it, I say calmly. Right now, I have a lot of expenses associated with the new project. But, Mom, Abigail looks disappointed. This is your future grandchild. Is business more important than family? That's an interesting question, Abigail, I answer, looking her straight in the eye. Especially since 2 weeks ago, you were accusing me of lying and manipulation. And today, you're already asking me for money for a house for a grandchild you haven't even conceived yet. Abigail blushes, but quickly pulls herself together. I thought we were starting fresh, forgetting past wrongs. Forgetting, maybe, I nodded, but not making the same old mistakes is a definite must. I won't be in a toxic relationship anymore, Abigail. Not even for the sake of hypothetical grandchildren. Toxic relationships? Abigail looks genuinely surprised. What are you talking about? We're trying to connect, and you're pushing us away. I'm not pushing you away, I reply calmly. I just see right through you. You didn't come because you realized your mistakes or because you really missed me. You came because Noah might lose his job and you need money for a new house. You haven't changed. You just saw me as a new resource. Noah starts to protest indignantly, but Abigail gestures for him to stop. Okay, Mom, she says with cold fury. You've always been too perceptive. Yes, we need your help. Yes, Noah is in a difficult situation. But isn't it wrong to help your children? Isn't that what a family is for? Family is about love and support, Abigail, I answer quietly. For respect and caring, not for financial manipulation and emotional blackmail. You've always been so callous. Abigail shakes her head. Always putting your work, your ambitions before your family. Even when Daddy was dying, you cared more about the company than you did about him. It's a low blow, and Abigail knows it. I feel my insides clench with pain and anger. How dare you, I say, barely able to contain myself. You know it's a lie. I was by your father's side every minute of his illness. I held his hand as he took his last breath, and then, when he was gone, I raised his company from the ashes to secure your future, so you could go to the best college, so you could have everything you could ever want. And yet you lied to me your whole life, Abigail countered, hiding your success, your wealth. Why? Because you didn't trust me? Because you thought I'd only love you for your money? Didn't you? I chuckle bitterly. Look at you now. You didn't call me for 2 weeks after our fight. And then suddenly, you remember me when your husband is threatened with dismissal and you need money for the house. Is that true love? Abigail opens her mouth to object, but can't find the words. Noah sits stone-faced, clearly calculating how to salvage the situation. Look, he finally says, we're all a little on edge. Let's take a break, calm down, and talk later. Good idea. I nod and stand up. I gotta go. I have a meeting with a realtor in San Diego in 2 hours. Mom, wait. Abigail grabs my hand. We can't break up like this. Are you really moving? Leaving us? I give her a long look. I'm not leaving you, Abigail. I'm just stopping living for you. I'm starting to live for myself. It's time. I'm 69. But what about us? What about, she stammered, clearly hesitant to mention money again. You're adults, I say calmly. You'll be fine. And if you ever want a real relationship based on love and respect, not financial gain, I'll always be happy to see you. Glendale or San Diego, I walk out of the cafe feeling strangely light. For the first time in years, I've said what I really think, without hiding, without minimizing myself, without fear of losing an illusory relationship. In the car, I check my phone, 2 missed calls from Chloe. I call her back. Ms. Trellis, sorry to bother you, she says. The realtor from San Diego sent over some new options. One particularly interesting one is an ocean view penthouse in a new building near the future office. Sounds like fun, I smile. Send me the details. I'll take a look on the way. And another thing, Chloe continues, Malcolm Price called. He says that investors are excited about the project in San Diego. They're ready to invest additional funds if we speed up the realization. Great. I can feel the excitement building inside me. Tell him I'll call him back tonight. I have some ideas on how to optimize the project. I drive down the familiar streets of Glendale, past the buildings my company has built, past the parks we've landscaped, past the schools we've remodeled. This city has become a part of me over the years, but maybe it's time to move on, to start a new chapter in San Diego, by the ocean, among new people, new projects, new opportunities. The thought of leaving Abigail still hurts. She is my only daughter, my flesh and blood. But today's meeting has finally convinced me that our relationship is toxic, and it will remain that way until Abigail truly changes, learns to see me as a person, not an ATM machine or a liability. And in the meantime, I have my company, my projects, my team, people who respect me for who I am, not what I can give them. And maybe I'll find something else in San Diego, new friends, new interests, maybe even new love. Who knows? At 69, life is just beginning. In the evening, I sit in my office at home, looking through photos of the San Diego penthouse Chloe found. Spacious rooms filled with light, a terrace overlooking the ocean, modern architecture. Not at all like my current home. Quaint, cozy, but too big for one person and full of memories. Not always pleasant. The phone rings. It's Abigail. I hesitate but answer it. Dash, dash, yes? Mom? Her voice sounds strained. I wanted to apologize for today. I was overreacting. It's okay, I answer calmly. We all say things we shouldn't sometimes. Are you really going to move to San Diego? She asks after a pause. Yes, I say firmly. I'm already looking at housing there. But why? Why now? Why so suddenly? I take a deep breath. Because I'm tired, Abigail. Tired of pretending to be less than I am. Tired of being disrespected in my own home. Tired of living for others and forgetting myself. San Diego is a fresh start for me, a chance to be myself without reservation or compromise. But you can be yourself here in Glendale, she protests. Now that we know the truth, it's not about the truth, Abigail, I interrupt. It's about attitude, the way you and Noah have treated me all these years. The fact that even today, when you supposedly came to reconcile, you were only thinking about the money and connections you could get from me. not about how to mend the relationship, but how to exploit my position. There is silence on the other end of the line. It's not fair, Abigail finally says, but there's no conviction in her voice. No, Abigail, I sigh. It's not fair when a daughter doesn't call her mother for 2 weeks after a fight and then suddenly shows up when she needs money for the house. Unfair is when a son-in-law thinks it's acceptable to give his mother-in-law a floor cloth for her birthday. Unfair is when your own daughter only sees you as a source of funding and not a person with feelings and dignity. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Abigail's voice shook. You don't have to say anything, I answer more gently. Just think about it, Abigail. Think about what kind of relationship you really want with me. And when you do, I'll be waiting for your call, Glendale or San Diego. On a summer morning, I watched the sunrise on the terrace of my new penthouse in San Diego. The ocean stretches out before me as a vast canvas, the sun's rays coloring it golden. I take a sip of coffee and think about the day ahead. Today, I'll put a final end to my past life. 3 months have passed since that humiliating dinner at Golden Gate. 3 months of preparation and decisions. In that time, I've bought that penthouse, opened a new trellis construction office in downtown San Diego, moved some of my team here, and hired new employees. And all the while, she'd avoided talking directly to Abigail and Noah, limiting herself to short phone calls and evasive answers. That ends today. I set up an appointment for them to meet in Glendale, at my old house, which is already for sale. Chloe suggested we meet at the office or a neutral location, but I insisted on the house. I want them to realize the reality of what's happening. I'm really leaving. This isn't a bluff or a temporary solution. After gathering all the necessary paperwork and packing the things I want to take with me into a small bag, I leave San Diego at 8:30. The drive takes a little over 3 hours, and by 11:30, I'm already entering the familiar gates of my old house. Inside, everything looks strangely empty. I've already moved most of my personal belongings into the new penthouse, leaving only the furniture and some of the decor to make it presentable when showing it to potential buyers. The realtor says there are already a few interested clients. A house in a good neighborhood with a well-maintained garden and history attracts attention. I walk through the rooms, saying goodbye to each one. Here's the living room where we once celebrated Abigail's birthdays. Here is the kitchen where I cooked family dinners. This is the office where I worked in the evenings, hiding my real life from my daughter. 20 years of memories, not all of them pleasant. At 1:30, the doorbell rings. I take a deep breath, gathering my thoughts, and go to open it. Abigail and Noah are standing on the doorstep. My daughter looks tense. My son-in-law looks nervous. Mom, Abigail makes a move to hug me, but stops when she notices my detached look. We're here, just like you asked. Thank you. I nod. Come on in. This conversation won't take long. They follow me into the living room, visibly surprised by the emptiness of the house. Noah looks around. Are you moving in? I've already moved, I answer calmly. Most of my stuff is already in San Diego. All I have to do is sign the final papers to sell the house. The sale? Abigail looks shocked. You're selling the house? But, why didn't you tell us? I point to the couch and sit down in the chair across from them. I told you I was planning a move, Abigail, several times. You just didn't want to believe I meant it. But selling the house? She shakes her head. That's so drastic. It's been your house for so many years. 21 years, I nod. And for most of that time, I've been miserable here, pretending to be someone else, hiding my accomplishments, being disrespected. Noah fidgets on the couch, clearly uncomfortable. Ms. Trellis, Mom, we already apologized for the incident at the restaurant. It was a stupid joke that got out of hand. Is it really worth making such drastic decisions because of one mistake? I'm looking at him closely. It's not about one mistake, Noah. It's about a pattern of behavior over the years. The way you've both treated me over the years. That night at Golden Gate was just the last straw. But, Mom, we can fix this. Abigail pitched forward. We've changed. We really have. Just give us a chance to prove it. You've had your chance, I answer calmly. At that meeting in the cafe, remember? And how did you take it? Right away, you asked for money for a new house and help with Noah's career. Abigail blushes and averts her eyes. Noah opens his mouth to object, but can't seem to find the words. I didn't call you here today to argue or accuse you, I continued. I called you here today not to argue or accuse, I continue, but to tell you my decision and the changes it will mean for both of you. I pull a file from my bag and place it on the coffee table. First of all, I'm selling this house. The deal will probably close within the month. Second, I'm officially moving to San Diego and relocating the company headquarters there, leaving only the branch office in Glendale. Abigail and Noah listen in silence, their faces growing increasingly tense. Third, I've revised my will, I continued. Abigail, you're still my primary heir, but now most of my fortune will be distributed to charities that support women in business and construction. You'll get enough to live comfortably, but nothing more. What? Abigail looks shocked. You're disinheriting me? I'm not disinheriting you. I'm reducing it, I corrected. And not out of revenge, believe me. It's because I'm convinced that too much easy money is rarely a good thing. I earned my fortune through hard work, and it should serve a worthy purpose, not just make someone rich without effort. Noah sits stone-faced, clearly calculating the financial implications of my decision. Abigail looks like she's been betrayed. And finally, fourth, I take a deep breath. I'm giving up weekly family dinners and other mandatory events. I will no longer play the role of the convenient grandmother who can be pulled out for a tick for the holidays and ignored the rest of the time. But, Mom, Abigail begins to cry. Are you giving up on us? From your family? No, Abigail, I shake my head. I'm giving up toxic relationships, the pretenses, from having to diminish myself to make others comfortable. I'll be happy to have you in my life, but only on terms of mutual respect and sincerity. I pull a small business card holder out of my bag and hand them 2 business cards with the address of my new home and office. If you ever want a real healthy relationship, here are my contacts. I'll always be happy to see you, but only if you learn to respect me as a person, not as an ATM or a nuisance. Abigail stares at the business card like it's a poisonous snake. I don't understand why you're doing this, she says with a tremor in her voice. Why can't you just forgive us and start over? Because forgiveness won't solve the problem, Abigail, I answer softly. The problem isn't one incident that needs to be forgiven. The problem is how you both perceive me and treat me, and that won't change from a simple, I'm sorry. Noah finally finds his voice. I realize we've made mistakes, he says, trying to sound sincere. But cutting all ties, isn't that a little drastic? I'm not cutting ties, Noah. I shake my head. I'm changing the rules of the game. No more disrespect. No more jokes about my age. No more attempts to manipulate me for money or favors. If you're willing to accept these terms, the doors to my home in San Diego are always open to you. Abigail wipes away her tears and looks at me with unaccustomed seriousness. What if we're not ready? If we can't change right away? Then we'd better keep our distance, I answer honestly. Until you're ready. I've put up with toxic relationships for too long, Abigail. I won't do it again. Our conversation effectively ends there. They try to say something else, to convince me, but I remain adamant, not out of cruelty or revenge, but because I finally realized that sometimes distance is the only way to maintain my dignity and composure. When they leave, I feel a strange mixture of sadness and relief. Sadness that my only daughter was never able to see me as a person worthy of respect simply for who I am. Relief that I no longer have to pretend, to diminish myself, to suffer humiliation for the illusion of a family relationship. I walk around the house one last time, saying goodbye to every room, every memory. Then I lock the door, get in my car, and drive out the gate without looking back. This chapter of my life is closed. Time to write a new one. 3 months later, I'm sitting on the terrace of my penthouse in San Diego, enjoying the sunset. The company is thriving. The new branch is already profitable. The team is collaborative and enthusiastic. We just won the bid to build an eco-friendly apartment complex, a project I've dreamed of for years but couldn't realize in conservative Glendale. Chloe, faithful Chloe, moved in with me. She sits next to me with a glass of wine, talking about her new hobby, surfing. Who would have thought that my serious assistant in strict suits would turn out to be so adventurous? You should try it, Miss Trellis, she says enthusiastically. It's such a sense of freedom. At my age, Chloe? I laugh. Surfing is too extreme for me, I'm afraid. Nonsense, she says. Age is just a number, especially for you. I smile, thinking about how my life has changed in these 3 months. I've found not only new business opportunities here, but also new friends. Lorraine Chen, an investor who also moved to San Diego, has become a close friend of mine. We often go to shows and theaters together and discuss books and business. Vince Tucker, owner of Golden Gate, opened a restaurant in San Diego as well, and we sometimes meet there for business lunches. And my new neighbor, 75-year-old retired architecture professor Alan Foster, has proven to be not only an interesting conversationalist, but potentially something more. We have a date next Friday. The phone rings, interrupting my musings. Abigail's number. We haven't spoken since that day in Glendale, only exchanging formal messages about selling the house. I hesitate, but still answer. Yes, Abigail? Mom, her voice sounds unaccustomedly uncertain. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. I answer with restraint. How are you? I'm fine. She pauses. Mom, I'm calling to tell you. I've been thinking a lot. About us. About what you said. And I'm starting to realize what you meant. I remain silent, waiting for her to continue. Noah lost his job, Abigail continues. He was actually downsized in the restructuring. And you know what? It was, almost a relief. He was unhappy there, just afraid to admit it even to himself. Now he's taking a web design course. Turns out it's something he's always wanted to do. I'm happy for him. I say sincerely, it's important to do something that gives you satisfaction. Yes. Also, Mom, I wanted to apologize. A real apology, not just for the sake of apologizing. You were right about us. We treated you terribly. I only saw you as an old woman who needed attention, not the strong, successful person you are. I'm ashamed of that. I listen to her words, trying to figure out if they're sincere or just another manipulation. But something in her voice sounds new. Humility, realization, perhaps even growth. Thank you for those words, Abigail, I say softly. They mean a lot to me. Mom, I'm not asking you to go back or change your mind, she continues. You have every right to live the life you want. I just want to, maybe, try to build a new relationship. No expectations, no commitments, just, get to know you again. The real you. I look out at the ocean, at the golden glare of the setting sun on the water, and I think about how life is unpredictable. Sometimes people do change. Sometimes they learn from their mistakes. And sometimes, rarely, but still, it's worth giving a second chance. I'd like that, Abigail, I say finally. But on one condition. What's that? I can hear the tension in her voice. No masks, no pretenses. We'll both be ourselves, with all our strengths and weaknesses. Do we have a deal? It's a deal, she sounded relieved. Thank you, Mom. And Abigail, I add, I will not change my mind about the inheritance, not out of vengeance, but because I truly believe that you should build your life on your own, with your own hands, just as I once did. I understand, she replies, and to my surprise, there's no disappointment in her voice. And, I even agree with you. Maybe it's really time for me to stop waiting for someone to solve my problems and start solving them myself. After the conversation, I sit in silence for a while, thinking about what I've heard. Maybe Abigail is really starting to change. Or maybe this is just another attempt at manipulation. Time will tell. But one thing I do know is that I won't sacrifice my dignity and happiness for the illusion of a family relationship. If Abigail is sincere in her desire to change, fine. If not, I'm ready to live my life without her. Chloe returns with more glasses of wine. Everything all right, Miss Trellis? You look pensive. I'm fine, Chloe. I smile. I'm just thinking about how interesting life is. Even at 69, you can start over, find new goals, new friends, new joys. Especially at 69, she says with a wink, when you know exactly what you want and you're not afraid to fight for it. We clink glasses, and I look out at the ocean, feeling surprisingly calm and confident. I'm finally living my real life. No masks, no compromises, no toxic relationships. Surrounded by people who appreciate me for who I am, not for what I can give them. And if Abigail can ever truly be one of those people, my doors will always be open to her. And if not, well, I've learned to value myself enough to not let anyone, not even my own daughter, humiliate me or take advantage of me. At my age, I finally realized the most important thing. Happiness is not about pleasing others, but about being true to yourself. And now, as I watch the sunset over the ocean, I know I made the right choice. My new life is just beginning, and I look forward to every day of it.